Good morning, parents. I hope you are all safe and well, and welcome back to another episode of A Coffee and Conversation with myself and Mr. John. Like I said at the very start, we hope you are safe and well, and that your families are safe and well wherever you are in the world, as we continue to work together and battle through this pandemic. Sabah al khair to everybody as well, and like I said, in terms of the safety, this is the number one priority that we really have at our school right now. And we really want to emphasize through these coffee and conversation mornings and in everything that we do, how much we value and appreciate the support that you and your children are giving the school. It's been incredible how well our students are complying with the rules that we set out. Even though it's very difficult for them as young people to sit distanced every day, to walk around the site when required, distanced, to wear their masks, but they are absolutely tremendous, and we are so proud of everybody in our school community. And thank you to you parents when you collect your children or drop them off at the start and end of the day, for complying with everything that we set out to do. So the coffee and conversations, we got some feedback from parents, and the general consensus is that we are going to do these every 2 weeks. We feel that that would be the best approach in terms of delivering information in this forum. Like we always say, the idea of this is to sort of simulate a traditional coffee and conversation morning that we would normally hold in the school. Whereby we give you some updates from the primary and secondary school and the whole school, and then you have the opportunity to ask Mr. John and myself questions. So please do remember to post the questions in the chat. We won't publish them all, but we will definitely respond to them all. So please do that. And just a final reminder that these sessions are recorded. It's very important that we mention that, and they're also then uploaded to our YouTube channel should you wish to watch them afterwards, or watch them for the first time if you are not able to attend. So I will start. There's quite a lot of updates from the secondary school in terms of questions that we are receiving, whether it be via email or via the telephone. And this is a good opportunity for me to hopefully answer a few of the questions that have been asked. Similar questions that have been asked over the past couple of weeks. So one is with regard to mock examinations. So this applies to our current senior students, particularly at this moment in time, our year 11, 12 and 13. But I also want to clarify for our year 10 parents how examinations fit in to the lives of a year 10 student out of school. So first of all, the year 12 and 13 mock examinations are currently in process. It's been absolutely wonderful to see our year 12 and 13 students in the school. We've not seen many of them for quite some time now, so it's wonderful at in the morning when we get to greet them and welcome them back in. So thank you very much, students and parents, for coming into these incredibly important mock examinations. Obviously, the year 11 mock examinations were conducted before the winter break, and the results have been published and shared with parents. So if you haven't already, year 11 parents, access those on GEMS Connect, please make sure that you do that. Please make sure that you go through them and discuss them with your child. We've had many parents communicate with us about helping them understand how the results are calculated and what we do with these results, of course, which is very important. So that brings me on to my next point, is that as we currently speak, all year 11, 12 and 13 students will be taking examinations this summer. We do not have any further updates from our examination boards with regards to the news that came out of the UK in terms of the cancellation of examinations. So we are preparing 100% for examinations, apart from those subjects, obviously, that follow the AQA syllabus, and I've written to parents about this on 2 occasions now, and it's really important to understand that for the students who are following AQA specifications and subjects that follow those syllabus, those examinations have been cancelled because they are GCSE qualifications. They're not international GCSE qualifications or international A levels. So please read the information on GEMS Connect again. And if you do not understand or want anything clarifying for your child in year 11, 12 or 13, please do get in touch with us. Just to clarify for year 10 parents, a lot of parents are asking about, do students do the real exams this summer in year 10, the real IGCSE examinations? And the answer is by and large no, apart from if your child has been selected by the maths department to do the early entry this year. And Miss Ashley Rawlins will be communicating to all parents who that applies to, so that we can help you understand the next steps in that process. Miss Ivana, our examinations officer, has published the examination fee booklet on GEMS Connect. This is really important because before we can enter your child into examinations, we do need to collect the examination fees for each of the subjects that they're entered into. So if you haven't already, please keep a close eye on GEMS Connect. As always, direct all of the questions regarding that through Miss Ivana, the exams officer, should you have any queries about that. In terms of reports, lots of questions coming in regarding school reports. So currently the secondary school have published one progress check report before the winter break, and this week we'll be publishing progress check 2. Again, this is the information, the attainment data on your child for the subjects that they study at GFS. So again, please log into GEMS Connect and follow the guidelines to make sure that you can access the school report. If you have any problems, again, please contact your child's form tutor, head of year or head of key stage. Moving swiftly on, we have got an exciting opportunity that we're currently working with Oxford AQA, one of our examination boards, and this is to try and help any parent whose child is considering going to Egypt to study higher education, so going to university in Egypt. We understand that there are lots of questions regarding the prerequisites that students require to enter higher education institutions in Egypt. So we're currently trying to work with Oxford AQA to design a webinar, an information session, not just for our school, but for a group of schools. And I will be sharing that information once we have it available. But please look out for that communication, because we do get a lot of questions regarding that, and it's very important for you as parents to plan ahead, have the correct information regarding admissions to Egyptian universities. This week, our Year 9 students have been involved in IGCSE taster lessons. So Miss Hannah Monk, the head of Key Stage 3, has designed a wonderful programme with our heads of subject, where Year 9s are going in and dropping in and looking at the different options that are available to choose in Year 10 next year to begin their IGCSE programme of study. And the option blocks will be coming out very shortly. We're going to do one further survey with all Year 9 students to establish after their taster days which subjects they really are interested in studying, and also which subjects might be of interest to them as well, as we look to possibly add subjects to our curriculum next year. I'm just going to share our screen. I'll ask Ms. Mylene to share our screen. So we did receive our TIMS results, as we mentioned in the last coffee and conversation. So I've got the grade 8 or the Year 9 TIMS results that we received a couple of weeks ago, actually. So this was a global study that's conducted to participating countries around the world in 2019, and it really focuses on 2 subjects, mathematics and science. And it's part of the UAE's national agenda, which I'm sure that many of you are familiar with. There was a selection of students, two classes in Year 9 who were selected to participate in the study. And like I said, it was the UAE's national agenda target to reach the top 15 and 20 countries globally in TIMS and something else that is called PISA, the Programme for International Student Assessment. The UAE were delighted to announce hit their targets, which is brilliant. So all of the participating schools across the country contributed to this success, and the grade 8 or the year 9 scores that you can see on your screen, we were set the targets in maths 512 and in science 522. And as you can see in maths, our students achieved 525 and in science 547. So this is just a very small extract from the TIMS report, but we will be publishing that on our website this week so parents can have a look at it and digest that in a lot more detail. I think it's a 30-page report, so lots of information on how the school performed. But well done to our maths and science teams and our maths and science students. Moving on, we also received some wonderful news in the recent weeks with regards to Igcc results. So in November 2020, we had a group of students that wanted to enter for Igccs as a result of the cancellation of examinations or as early entry students. These results were absolutely phenomenal. We're delighted with the results that were delivered by Cambridge Assessment International Education and Oxford AQA, the exam boards. And one of the highlights, I think, for me, and it was the first set of results that we got, if you can see at the very top, the mathematics, 93% of students who sat that exam in November got the top grade of a 9, which is just incredible. So congratulations to all of those students, but also if you read down, there's lots of success stories there. So for parents, it just hopefully reassures you and gives you confidence in what we're doing is working in the way that we're working with our students and preparing them for exams. So congratulations to everyone involved, and most importantly, congratulations to the students for these fantastic results. I think there's only a couple of other things from my side, and this is a really important one for all of your 10, 11, 12 and 13 students and parents, and this is the GEMS iFlourish scholarship program that we introduced last year. This is a really important opportunity for students to apply for a GEMS Founder School iFlourish scholarship. And on the screen you can see just part of the letter that was published to GEMS Connect, and our heads of the year will be talking to students about this in a lot more detail through assemblies. As you can see, there are 5 different scholarship categories. Academics, the outstanding contribution to wider school community and well-being, innovation, Arabic language and literature, and then the outstanding school values and citizenship. And you can see the timeline for applications, which the key one obviously in the immediate future is the deadline for entry, which is Thursday the 11th of February at 4 p.m. There is an application form that goes alongside this document that has been again published onto our website and to GEMS Connect. So please, if your child is going to apply for a scholarship, please use that application form and read the letter very carefully, as obviously the criteria is very strict. So we look forward to reviewing these scholarship applications. We have got a panel that has been set up that will review them for a week between the 14th and the 18th of February. Students will then be shortlisted, and then there will be an executive leadership review. So myself, Mr. John, the school principal and the vice principal and the manager of school operations, who are the XLT, will review the shortlisted candidates and follow the next stage in that process. So good luck to all the students who do apply, and thank you to all the parents that do support with that. Thank you very much. That brings it to a close from a secondary school perspective. So I will hand over to Mr. John, who will give you some updates from primary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ian. Good morning, everybody. Sabah al khair, and thank you for joining us today. So a lot going on, and we're well under the way of term 2 with our topics there. And I'd just like to point out, firstly, GEMS Connect to everybody. Just a reminder that newsletters, information related to your year group, information related to the whole school. It's all being stored on GEMS Connect. So those letters that are coming out weekly and newsletters from year groups, they'll be appearing there. But I'd also like to highlight the resources tab. And under the resources tab, excuse me, you will see the parent handbook is stored there for your reference, as well as parent contract and other relevant materials. And in particular, I'd just like to highlight the parent handbook as it's something that's just worth checking on, so at the beginning of every term, because there will be occasional updates that get fed into the document. It's a relatively live document. Changes will be made when we have updates in terms of teaching staff. Those changes and contact details will be reflected in the parent handbook. So this really is your go-to place in terms of GEMS Connect. Just do check on the resources tab. So you'll also find there, in terms of your year groups, as I mentioned, we are well underway with term 2 and our term 2 topics. You'll find those medium-term plans that have been uploaded for you, so you can get a little bit more information about what exactly the students will be learning and amongst their topics. For example, year 4, we've got the Misty Mountains, year 3, Inventions that Change the World, year 6, Polar Mexico. So do have a look. The information has been loaded up by year leaders and key stage leaders for your reference there. So thinking about the children, one thing I do want to mention and draw your attention to, yes, year 5, we are very much looking forward to our year 5s returning tomorrow when they come back to school. Now, I will address this. So what happened last week, obviously the number of cases were flagged up initially for the DHA, which led to our whole school from year 5 upwards having 48 hours out of school. It was then the DHA decision to keep our year 5s remote learning for 1 additional week. So why was this decision made? Well, some of the most updated guidelines and directives that we have from the DHA is there are now a threshold, and the threshold is 3 students or 3 people within a year group or a corridor if they are tested positive. So we had 3 active cases amongst the students who were here, and that then led to the full closure of the year group as well for that period of time. So thank you to everybody for observing those kind of isolation protocols and everything else at home. Obviously, we understand if your child has been a remote learner and has not been mixing with students who are currently coming into school, then those things will not apply. But we thank you all. We really do understand. We're parents ourselves as well. So we do understand the impact of these kind of whole school decisions that have on families. Obviously, Mr. May I ask about the mask? Both of you usually make this meeting without wearing masks. Yes, now we do. Why are we wearing masks? Thank you very much. I've just seen this question pop in, and it was something I was going to address. Now, often when you don't see us with a mask on, it's because that we are alone in our offices. Now, our space here in Founders, we are very good at using all available space and maximising the space primarily for the students. So we don't have large, expansive offices here in school, but we do both share our offices with our relevant kind of school secretaries. So Ms. Rome is with me and Ms. Mylene is over in Mr. Ian's office as well. Because we are in shared offices, that's why we're wearing masks. So on those occasions where you might have seen us on our coffee and conversation not wearing a mask, that will be because on those rare opportunities that we are alone, closed doors in our offices and our chairs. So, but thank you very much for highlighting that one. Just on that, I would just like to, thinking about COVID and what has happened just recently, just to remind everybody in terms of the social distance guidelines, what we're seeing a pickup. And obviously, things are moving on. It's been a long time that these things have been in place and these protocols and procedures, and everyone does get a little bit tired. But I just wanted to remind everybody of the importance of this. Obviously, if you're tracking the cases, you'll be seeing that the number of cases are going up and up and up constantly here in Dubai at the moment, following the holiday period and people traveling. And we're trying everything we can, of course, I'm sure you are as well, just to minimize any risk to yourselves. So please, everybody, just to bear that in mind. We are reminding the students constantly when they come in the morning, just to maintain that social distance as well. So, children unwell, please, 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 if your child is unwell, please keep them at home. We don't enjoy having to contact you in the day and ruin your day and have to disturb you from work and ask you to come and get your child, but we cannot have them here in school. And again, it's something we've talked about before, but if your child is showing any symptoms that could be COVID related, then we cannot have them in school. And that might be a raised temperature. That might also be maybe they're sniffing and sneezing, or just generally coughing. But anything that you've got there, any obvious signs and symptoms, we don't know if they're COVID related. Often parents tell us that they're related to allergies, but until we have a doctor's letter to confirm that, then the guidelines that we are operating under are very clear. And again, I'll bring this back, that it's the DHA guidelines from the KHDA that we must follow these, and they are very clear that we cannot have such children here in school. I'm sure you'd understand why. So thank you very much, everybody, for your help and support with those as well. Just a general reminder then, in terms of students coming in, that's to make sure that they do have their devices. And I know these routines are well underway now, but just a reminder to keep them fully charged, have their headphones ready as well. Last couple of things I'm just looking at now. And one big one that I did want to mention, of course, is our GFPA initiative. Now, I know that information has come out to the school community on our social media and through newsletters as well, but we are doing this. We are supporting the Aman Shelter for Women and Children, and we are asking students to bring in some new items of stationery and some backpacks for the children who are there, in terms of us supporting there. So thank you very much to the GFPA. It's a great initiative and is being well supported at the moment. I know that you'll be seeing some pictures as well coming out on social media of that. And we had Ryan in year 8 this morning bringing his bag with his materials in, ready to hand over. So thank you very much to everybody for your support with that as well. I'm just checking through my last couple of notes, and that's it. The next one I did want to mention just before I pass back to Mr. Ian, just a reminder on the ESM activities that are available happening on Sunday afternoons. We currently have activities for football, basketball, cricket and Bhangra dancing. So should your child be interested in any of those, please do follow up with Mr. Carl and the ESM team. So again, information will be lurking on GEMS Connect for you to have a look there. Okay. When do kids from Blue Bubble start coming to school is the question. I'd have to check my day, but it's every other day. So I'm not quite sure to which year group that is referring to. So if you could just, whoever has posted that question, if you would please just be a little bit more specific, maybe we could answer that one. So I know Mr. Ian has had a chance to review some of the questions. Seems to be a lot of secondary related questions and exam related questions this week, Mr. Ian. So I'm just going to pass back to you, give you an opportunity to address some of those. Thank you, parents.
Thank you, Mr. John, and thank you, parents, for all of the questions that are coming through. We've got about 14 questions, very different questions. So I will work through those for you. The first one is about when the CAP 4 tests are for year 7 and 4 students, and I believe that means the question is relating to not the new students but the current students. So we have already conducted these tests. What we're currently doing is establishing which students were not able to take those tests during that given window, and you as parents will receive updates as to the date and the time when these are going to be conducted. And we're trying to constantly make sure that every single student has a cognitive ability test result, because obviously we use that for future planning. So hopefully that answers that question. And also you can also ask and follow up with the head of year 7 and head of year 4 with any more specific related questions for CAP 4 students in those year groups. The next question, are the reports term 1 for year 7? Yes, and they've been published on GEMS Connect. Progress check 1, you're correct. And like I mentioned before, the progress check 2 report will be published on GEMS Connect this week. It's not yet been published, so that's why you will not be able to find progress check 2 just yet. A question regarding the history teacher. Unfortunately, Mr. John Gilheeney had to leave GFS before the winter break. and we are currently, as we always try to do, find a replacement teacher for history. Currently that's being covered by history specialists, and we do acknowledge that is inconvenient for students and for parents, and also for us as a school as well. It does put extra pressure on the history department, but I can assure you that they're planning the same lessons and delivering the same quality lessons in that department. So as soon as we are able to appoint a history teacher, we will be communicating that with you, and we are working relentlessly behind the scenes to try to do that for you, and we do appreciate your patience. Are there any subjects for Year 9 related to media? So not specifically media studies. We don't offer that as an IGCSE, or we don't offer that as a subject in Year 9. So the answer to that question is no, not at this stage. However, obviously, in terms of our after school program, when we're fully operational again, hopefully as soon as possible, we will be delivering media after school activities and opportunities for students to participate in that. And also there are some wonderful students who have set up the GEMS Founders School newspaper team and the school magazine. So if your child is interested in getting involved or publishing anything with relation to those opportunities, please do let me know and I can point you in the right direction for that. For Year 9 students, would the survey, the GCSE subject selection survey, be just for students or would it be for parents? This is a student survey, so we want to establish the students' thoughts following their experience this week in the taster lessons. However, obviously, you need to be discussing that with your child at home and working together to make sure that, one, they choose the subjects that they enjoy, two, the subjects that they are good at, and three, use all the information provided this week from the teachers to choose subjects that are going to help them with their career. So that's really the survey is specifically for students, but in consultation with parents and discussion with parents, I'm sure that you can complete that with your child. With regards to a session regards to IGC and GCSE exams, I believe you mean a webinar. I think that's what you're referring to, a session, a webinar session. We are just waiting until, first of all, the consultation with the UK government is coming to an end approximately around the 29th of January. Now we want to find out if that consultation impacts international examination boards, and if so, how it's going to impact us. So we are just waiting until the end of January before we can actually proceed with any further sort of sessions, because currently speaking, all that we can say to you, like I've said already, is that we are preparing students to sit examinations this summer. It's as really simple as that. And once we have any further updates, we will conduct a really detailed webinar led by Mr. Ed Nutt, the head of Key Stage 4. With regards to anything that may change, but as we stand, nothing has changed. Queries with regard to boards available. Who is the best person to contact to get a better understanding of the curriculum options available for Year 9 students, or is there any generic information source published by the school? That's a really good question. So we currently work with 4 examination boards: AQA, Oxford AQA, Pearson Edexcel, and Cambridge. Lots of information for students and parents to digest. The best person, depending on the question, if it's a subject related question, so for example, if it's a history question, obviously speak with a history teacher or the head of subject, the head of history. If it's a more generic question with regards to general examinations, there's lots of options. There's myself, there's the heads of Key Stage, so Miss Kelsey and Mr. Ed, there's our examination officer, Miss Ivana. So it depends on the actual question. But also we will also direct you as well to a wealth of information on the examination board websites that is provided obviously openly to everybody. Keep working through these questions. There's lots more coming through, which is great. Regarding the scholarship, can Year 9 students apply for it? No, unfortunately not. It's just for years 10, 11, 12 and 13. not a question. This is a lovely one, and thank you for posting this. It's not a question, but just wanted to say thank you, and a brilliant idea for coming up with the coffee and conversations. Really useful. Thank you very much. I know Mr. Johns replied to that one, but thank you so much. That's really kind of you. Are the new students eligible for iFlourish scholarships? Absolutely. Any new student in year 10, 11, 12, and 13 is eligible to apply for an iFlourish scholarship. Reports available. Yes, like I said, apologies, but they'll be coming out this week on GEMS Connect. I think that's everything. I think I've covered everything, and I know that Mr. John has replied to everything else within the chat as well, if it's a very specific question and not necessarily generic. So I think that is it. Thank you. Brilliant questions, everybody. I did know, actually, I just noticed one more, and it was about AC in the classrooms. Again, we're very open here, and obviously want to listen to your feedback. It seems that your child feels extremely cold in the classrooms. Our classrooms, our temperature is regulated across the whole school, you know, in all classrooms. So if you could maybe provide us with a little bit more detailed feedback in the private chat, we can maybe address that and look into that. But generally speaking, the environment is fit for purpose across the whole school. We are constantly walking around the school and observing all things like this. And I know our manager of school operations, Miss Hannah, does welcome feedback like this, so we will mention that. But at the same time, I'm going to hand back to Mr. John, who just wants to add something with regards to that.
Thank you, Mr. Ian. Yes, just to add a little extra detail on that one, and it might well be that because our students are limited in their movement, that they are feeling a little bit more cold than they normally would. Obviously, the AC's system is set up with respect to a kind of a full school, which we're not. Our student numbers are down a little bit, so we have been adjusting. So yes, there are some occasions where we need to adjust it as well. So kind of specific information, specific areas in the school is always good. My thoughts on this one at the moment, well, my thoughts as a class teacher when I was many years ago was it was always better to be slightly colder than slightly too warm, because if students were too warm, they'd be falling asleep. And if you're slightly too cold, you can always put a jumper on. But I think the majority of the cases with this one, it's probably because the students are, you know, sat at their desks for longer than they normally would have been during normal school times. And why is this? Because we are really careful in terms of our social distancing and making sure that our distances between the students, and we're not mixing around, because if students are, obviously, then the number of close contacts increases exponentially. So, you know, this is why we are asking our students to stay in their seats when they're in their classrooms at the moment, and they're not having those ordinary opportunities to move around. These are not normal times, we know that, and I'm quite certain that you are aware as well, and doing our best. And what we do hope is that as soon as possible, that things will be turning a little bit more normal than they are at the moment. Okay, I'm just going to do a final check on questions. I can see maybe one or two more have come through. Mr. Ian. And thank you very much, Viswanath. Without doubt, the coffee and conversation is an excellent idea to connect with parents. Yeah, so thank you. Yes, it is certainly an initiative and something we are trying. I do think at the moment, as Mr. Ian said, we are going to the fortnightly model, just to kind of make sure that conversation is flowing as well. Okay, I'm just going to pass back to Mr. Ian.
Thanks, Mr. John. So this is the very last question that has been asked for this morning. And the question is, how will students of year 11 take their Igcc examinations? Will it be online, or will they attend school and write the exams on paper as they normally would do? A really good question. And as we currently stand, students will be coming physically to the school, following the examination schedule that we will publish, the timetable, sitting in the examination halls in the school and the rooms under examination conditions as normal. So there will be no online testing as we stand at all. I obviously must reiterate the fact that that's currently the situation. If things do change, we will inform you as to the changes. But right now, your child should be at home and in school preparing for actual examinations. And I just wanted to add something about this, because this is really important, and it's something that we as educators globally are cognizant of. And it's the fact that many of our students across all year groups, but particularly, I suppose, when it comes to examination students, they through virtual, online, remote learning and the use of technology, there is that concern that they're not writing as much as they perhaps would normally do on a day-to-day basis, and that practice of writing out questions physically on paper at home is really important. So I'd like to encourage you as parents to support us in the school to when the students are practicing and studying and revising and answering questions either from the book or that the teacher sets them, is to really make sure that their writing is up to speed, and that they are practicing writing under timed conditions as well, because that is obviously a separate skill that students need to develop when it comes to examinations, and that applies not just for examination students but across the whole school. So please continue to support us with that. Again, I think there's other similar questions that are coming through, or questions that have been asked before. I'll just reiterate: only year 10, 11, 12 and 13 students can apply for scholarships. The year 9 students, parents, okay, that's a good question. So there is going to be a year 9 parent webinar next week. Miss Hannah Monk is sending that information out today on GEMS Connect. It's going to be on Monday the 1st of February from 4 o'clock until 6:55 p.m. So hopefully that's the time frame which suits most parents. We've listened to your feedback. That seems to be the time period which is most convenient for you. And what should you expect? It's going to be an information of our heads of subject, information evening, where our heads of subject will be online, and you will have the ability to ask as many questions as you want, just like a coffee and conversation essentially, regarding the Igcc process for year 9 students. So that information, please keep an eye out on that, today on GEMS Connect. I think that answers every single question. There's one more, there's one more, and this is about online learning, which Mr. John will take, I think. Mr. John, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ian. Yes, just a question there at the end. 2 questions actually. One about year 5. Yes, year 5s will be doing UAE studies. If you're not sure, do just check in with the class teacher. And I'd just like to reiterate that point actually. Your first point of contact really is class teacher every time, especially in primary. They will be the people who know your students best, your children, their students, and they will be able to answer in most cases any questions and queries that you have. So please do use them as that information source. So the final question we had: till when will the online learning option be available? End of term 2 or till the end of the educational year? Well, unfortunately, I cannot give you an exact answer on that one. Suffice to say that when this time last year we weren't doing any remote learning, then all of a sudden our midterm break was earlier, and then we rolled into online learning completely. We then returned to school in September, and our initial plans, as we were directed, was to just for term 1. So again, nobody really knows in terms of what has happened. And I think everyone's been hoping that things would settle down and kind of we'd be moving on from COVID by this point, but obviously we're having to live with it for a lot longer. If we're looking at the international news, then I know certainly in terms of the UK, then there's talks of lockdowns and restrictions in place certainly until the end of the year. So I really wouldn't like to say, but all I would probably say on this one is I would not be surprised if we're doing this kind of all year long. So maybe just kind of keep that in mind. But obviously we are working within the directives and the guidelines of both the KHDA and the DHA, and we'll be following them closely. If there are any updates or changes to those, then we will be communicating with you, our parents, our community, as soon as we know. Thank you, everybody. My apologies, my mask, as you're I'm sure we've all found, keep talking, your mask always slips down. So, and then you're told not to touch your face, but then we do. Just like to thank you all for joining us today. It's been a really good coffee and conversation. Very much appreciate the questions coming in. It gives us an opportunity to answer them. So on behalf of the primary team, Mr. Ian and the secondary team here, we'd just like to thank you once more, and please stay safe, stay well, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.